Hello everyone, welcome back. Another episode of Bitcoin Trade. And this episode, gonna talk a little bit about some news that came out. I did want to talk about it because it does somewhat have something to do with me personally. It's kind of weird how things work out and the way things work. It's very interesting. Um, Anyways, let's go to the news first and what I wanted to talk about here real quick. All right, here we go. I don't know if anybody's seen this recent headline here, but there you go. There's a headline. Feds nabbed for a big Bitcoin heist involving Gox and Silk Road, and there's the author and the date, so you all see that there. Anyways, if you haven't read this story or know about it, I'm sure you're all anybody who's involved in Bitcoin pretty heavily is probably already knows about it. But how does this relate to me personally? Well, here you go. So apparently, two people of law enforcement, Karl Mark Force the fourth, via LinkedIn. Believe it or not, I have interacted with that person in some way, shape, and form. I saw that this person, and it says DEA special agent and CPA, and believe it or not, I have interacted with this person. So that's why it's kind of relevant to me. And if you read the story, apparently, the gist of it is that they were laundering money from stealing bitcoins from other people, claiming seizures when, in fact, I guess they had inside information that of things that were going to happen, and also committing fraud. I really do believe that there are entities out there, and I really do think these entities are also from some form of law enforcement agencies, government agencies committing fraud against Bitcoin users. And the reason I say that is, the frauds that are being committed against Bitcoin users and people trying to use Bitcoin are done in a way that is it's the fraud is committed in such a way that the perpetrators who commit the fraud have very intimate knowledge of financial crimes, and it just seems that they know too much. They have too much inside information, and that inside information is being abused. And I think there's a lot of fraud being committed by these entities, and I always had a suspicion. I think this report that has come out now confirms that these suspicions, that there are people in power that are supposed to protect you and me, committing crimes against you and me, actually committing crimes. And apparently they got caught. And anyways, if you all want to know what my interaction with Karl Mark Force is, basically, I asked if, basically what I asked was, is there a market for Bitcoin in South America? And the reply was, yes, that it's untapped. It's an untapped market. So, hindsight, when I look at this, and then I look at the answer that was given to me from my question, um, I can only speculate now. Okay, I'm just speculating, but I'm just going off of what has been said, and obviously the knowledge of this particular person has of, the field, I would say, and obviously the crimes that this person has allegedly committed, laundering money, committing fraud and wire fraud and such. Um, that basically bitcoins aren't really being used in South America in the way they are being used, let's say, in North America, Europe, and to some probably extent Australia and China. They're not being used in that same way in South America. And the fact that it's an untapped market, it's telling me that that there's a great potential for Bitcoin to be used in South America. Now, you would think otherwise, considering the background of this gentleman coming from the DEA, that South America would be a big market for Bitcoin. Ironically, it's not. It's an untapped market. It's not being utilized. And so I found that very interesting, and I'm just speculating now. Hindsight, when I think about what's been said and the question that I asked, and now that we know this person was obviously trying to commit fraud and money laundering and wire fraud and abuse of power, that there may be something to what this person has said about South America, that it's a market that is not being used by Bitcoin. Bitcoin's not in use in that market, and there's a huge potential for it. And so just want to bring that up. It's just kind of weird how things turn out, and it's strange. It's really, really strange how the how events happen and how they occur, and in virtual reality, everyone, there's a good possible chance that everyone's connected with each other without really knowing how connected they are. And so I always had a suspicion that there's been abuse in law enforcement against Bitcoin users. And I think this particular article demonstrates the kind of abuses that can occur. And so we'll see what comes out of this, what happens. I think to this day there are still abuses occurring against Bitcoin users just because of the association of the use of Bitcoin, not any facts or any particular circumstances that would lead to a particular suspicion of any guilt. It's just the association of using Bitcoin. I think that's very prevalent. I also believe that there's a great misunderstanding of what exactly is Bitcoin. How do you use it? Why is it being used? But I think a lot of people are not asking the right question: is why was Bitcoin created? Why would the creator create Bitcoin? What is its purpose? So a lot of things happening here. huge potential. South America has huge potential. And I know some people are like hearing me say that, and they're thinking, well, what kind of potential? Well, you'll be surprised on what kind of potential there is. You won't know until you do it. I know a lot of people have already thoughts going through your heads of what kind of particular potential. I would just advise not to let your imagination go too wild. The potential is, I'm not trying to give it away too much now. The potential outweighs any harm, or any harm that anybody would try to use Bitcoin to harm. And the reason I say that is that I think, and if you've seen my previous episodes, you kind of get a sense of where I'm going at this, or where I'm going with this. Is I've said many times that the world is in revolution. In other words, the world is turning over. North is south, south is north, and so the southern hemisphere will be on top, hence the revolution. And so you're looking at South America, you're looking at Africa, you're looking at to some extent India, Southeast Asia, Australia is definitely there. And so if you look at that, that's where the largest potential is right now, because as the revolution continues, and at some point it's going to tip over, and the end of these days will be coming, and a new beginning, a new world will be in order. And it's something you can't stop, in my opinion. It's like trying to prevent the earth from rotating. It just can't be done. And so just want to share that with you. As these things come out, it's kind of weird how these things touch into your life, and then afterwards it all makes pretty weird fucking sense. So I just want to share that with you. I did interact with this person, and my question was, is there a market in South America or Latin America? And the reply was that it is untapped. The market in Southern, South America, Latin Americas are untapped. And so I myself really want to get into those markets, because if it's an untapped market, that means the potential is really great. And I also feel that a lot of the southern hemisphere will be on top of everything. In a lot of ways, kind of makes sense, because they're going to be leapfrog to the top. So whatever's on top now will be on the bottom. Whatever's on the bottom will be on top. Hence the revolution. And so, anyways, something I want to share. It's a great article. Read it. I enjoyed it. I was amazed, because in some ways I had some interaction with this person, which is kind of weird. And I just found it really strange and unusual that a person who's been so deep involved in the dark markets would have such a high interest in Bitcoin, especially especially from where they come to know Bitcoin. And so, very, very, you can't make this up. You know, reality in life is sometimes uh, stranger than fiction. I have a feeling as time goes on, there's going to be a lot of things that are going to unravel and come into the light where a lot of things will be revealed at the end of the day. And so I guess things will just, reconcile itself out. And so, anyways, just want to share that a little bit of news. Really good article. Have a chance to read it sometime. I think it says a lot that everything is not always what it appears to be. Hard to tell between up and down, right and left, right and wrong, black and white. Who do you trust? Who do you trust? Can you trust anyone? Is it possible? And when you get into Bitcoin, you'll be surprised who's trustworthy and who's not. Who's real and who's fake. And you won't know until you actually do it. Until you actually get involved in Bitcoin, and then you'll see it'll become clear as day and night. Where people are. Where are they really? So, anyways, I want to share that with you. Great article. Hope you all read it. I think this is big news, at least for me, because this is something that literally is a part of my life. Something that I've actually interacted with that person. And it wouldn't surprise me that there's more people like him. And when I say like him, meaning that they are in a position of authority and a power of some governmental agency, abusing their position, and specifically targeting Bitcoin users. And there you go. This is real. This is what's going on. I've always had this suspicion that these people know too much about how the system works. They know too much about how the system works. They know too much on how to get away with it. Obviously they would, because they've been involved in it. They've been investigating it. They've been pursuing it. They know the ins and outs, and they have the knowledge to do these things. And so I know they're out there. And I can only say they need to, I don't know how else to say it, but I guess a good word would be to repent, meaning that they need to stop and do a 180. So, anyways, that's about it. And let's go on to a chart analysis now. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. And so, as in my previous episode, I've mentioned that I really thought there was a huge pent-up demand, especially, right around these prices, right around here. And I kind of asked the question, what what's driving the market? I mean, is it the peer-to-peer driving the exchange, or are the exchange driving the peer-to-peer market? And I think in this particular instance, it it really was the peer-to-peer market driving these exchange prices, because from what I've seen and experienced was that on a peer-to-peer street level market trading, that prices were being driven higher. It literally cost more to acquire bitcoins because the acquisition of bitcoins was getting harder and harder. A lot of things were going on. I think a couple of reasons: the declining price. A lot of people didn't want to sell their bitcoins because if they bought them at a higher price, obviously they don't want to be taking a loss, so they wouldn't want to necessarily sell their bitcoins. Second is the difficulty in mining. I think there might be a third here, which is basically that the demand, the supply couldn't keep up with the demand because of the supply shortage, or I wouldn't say it's artificial. It's just that, you know, I wouldn't even want to sell bitcoins at a lower price, even though the exchange prices have gone down. And so what you saw was street level market pricing, peer-to-peer market prices rising, exchange market prices lowering. And at some point where they crossed, which would, I would assume, be somewhere right around here, is that it became more cost effective to just buy them on the exchange. And so the street level price, the street market price for every bitcoins became too high, to the point where it just became more cost effective to acquire your bitcoins on the exchange. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing a reflection of, is this demand in exchanges, the buying going up. And I'll give you an example, because let me see here. Okay, it's come down. It was at 256, and what's funny was that Bitstamp is now leading. And when I see that, there's some market fluctuation happening here. So Bitstamp was leading for some time. Now it's Bitfin was leading some time. Now it's Bitstamp. At some point, the Chinese market was higher, and so when I see these happening, and I see the exchange prices really fluctuating between each other, I know there's something going on here. And so, based on that, as you heard from my previous episode, I really did feel like there was pent-up demand. And obviously today it's kind of showed itself through. So in this particular instance, the market price, the street level market price, influenced the exchange price. And so now that it's adjusted itself, and we'll see how this particular price is going to affect now the chart analysis has changed. And so what I'm looking at now is this just a market correction? Because on a peer-to-peer level, obviously for me it made sense that this would be a correction, because the street price was obviously higher than the exchange prices. They typically are, but it was more greater than usual. And so I think what you saw was probably a lot of massive buying, which eventually led up to a lot of massive buying at the exchange, because it was just far easier to acquire bitcoins that way than through miners or any other supplier for bitcoins. And so the question is, now that that happened, and which I anticipated really to hit this trend line right here, well, not the trend line, but the average here, this 20 or 25 period average here, mine's estimated or weighted, and if you see it now, It's at I was thinking 252, but it went a little bit higher. It went to 256 at some point, maybe even 257. Um, my feelings were really it's just going to hit this, and then I want to see what happens. Now, a couple scenarios from this point on, that it can go higher because on a daily, and I'll go to a daily, that there's a possible chance of hitting 275 right here. So probably hitting up to this high here. Not necessarily crossing over, but just flipping up that high. Question is now from there, is it going to go down? And the reason why I get that number is very simple. This line right here. Of course, I've mentioned this line quite a few times, so it's not surprised that I bring it back up. So there's where I get my 270. So if it goes beyond this and keeps continuing, that's probably where it's gonna probably pause one more time. Now, if it busts through there and really starts going, it's a different scenario. You'll probably see above 300, really breaking out. Something like you would see either like this or just a long, gradual, higher climb. The other scenario is that if it hits this, and now this is the resistance because you've seen it here, and it could go down. It could just hit and then go down. Although on the 12-hour, the MACD, the momentum seems to be showing more upward potential, but it could go sideways for a while. It could just hit up here and go sideways and slowly work its way down. Go up to 270, somewhere around there, hit that, and then slowly work its way back down again. You've seen it many times, obviously, from previous charts. The longer term trend line, just hitting up, just hitting it, and then going down, hitting it, just following it until it just dramatically crashes. If it does, a good support or a good price to pick up some Bitcoins is around the 220 range. So somewhere around 220. Those are some good areas for a support or to pick up some coins, especially if you're already sold them here or wherever, anywhere above 220. If you already sold them, it's a good way to pick up some more coins. My opinion. Okay. The way I trade, I play in a range. Whether it's going in an uptrend or a downtrend or a sideways. I do play a range kind of trade because the way a price never moves in a straight line. It ranges up and down all the time, whether going up, down, or sideways. And so that's kind of how I trade, and it's worked for me pretty well, because you never know what the price is going to be. You can only know what the price is because it's already happened. And so based on what's happened, and I mentioned this in my previous episode, based on what's happened, if you get to a point where you're trading, and the great thing about virtual reality, and when you immerse yourself into Bitcoin, is that now you can become the master of time. Okay, you can go into the past, you can go into the future, and you can be in the present. There's so many ways to trade Bitcoin once you actually have Bitcoin, that it's how can I say this? It becomes a mechanism for you to time travel. And I know that sounds weird, but you could trade on basically what has happened to the price. Okay, you can also trade on what will happen to the price, and also you can trade on what is happening to the price of Bitcoin, on these price fluctuations, and take advantage of those. And once you learn how to do those things, it's amazing. It just a lot of things start opening up for you on how you can make a trade. Of course, you can only do that, and my opinion, if you're gonna do Bitcoin trading anyway, you can only do that if you actually have a Bitcoin. You can't do this and or well, I wouldn't say you couldn't do it. There is a way you could do it, but then you're basically trading Bitcoins you don't have, and I wouldn't recommend it, because if it doesn't work, if you can't control your Bitcoins in any meaningful way, you're probably just risking more than you would gain from trying to trade Bitcoins you don't really have or own, or really have any control of. Um, it's so much easier to have control of Bitcoins, because that's going to allow you to trade the past, the future, and the present. And once you get to do that, it starts opening up a lot of doors for you. You can, arbitrage. You can use Bitcoin as arbitrage. You can use Bitcoin as payment method. You can use Bitcoin as money. In other words, you can use Bitcoin. There's so many advantages to having Bitcoin, in my opinion, than other commodities or other stocks, or even something physical as real estate and gold. That's my opinion. Just because of the world that I think is going to be coming, the coming of the new world, and having a Bitcoin, or having a lot of Bitcoin will make your life extremely easier to live. It'll give you access to a lot of things that I think you couldn't have before. And so, anyways, the reason why I come up with 220 is I'm trading quite a bit. And because I play a range trade, or a butterfly kind of trade, or also known as channel trading, whether the trend is going up or going down, it's a little lagging, because obviously how I calculate the channels or the trends, they have to occur in order to readjust where my buy-in price and where my buy-in prices and where my sell prices are. And so based on those calculations, that's kind of where I came up with 220. Also, it seems to be in a price range where this low right around here is. There's another one right around here at 230. I would say I do have another calculation in here for 238, 239, which is again right about here. And it's kind of strange how these calculations that I'm using kind of line up with some of the support areas here, and it's just really weird. You don't think that there's anything to this chart analysis, but when you start crunching the numbers, you come up with the same thing, or very close to it. So it's pretty fascinating. Anyways, let me pull back to a day, and let's see what we got here. And so this is a day, right? And so this is kind of the trend here, and I'm just looking really closely on this part right here. As you see, there's another on the day. There's another here. If you pull out to the day, you can see where it really follows, and then it's following this 10-period average really good. I mean, you can just, of course it would, right? It's 10-period average, but you'll see that when it trends, it just really becomes a resistance, and then becomes a support, and then becomes the resistance, and then becomes a support here, and then becomes the resistance again. Now it's coming above it. The question is it going to be a support or resistance? And so it looks like it's going to be, if it's able to maintain above the 10 period here, it's a support, and it's going to drive the price higher here. And as you see here, the momentum has waned off going down and starting to work its slow way back up. If that's the case, then hitting this doesn't look like to be a problem, and then pushing up higher looks like a really good possibility. But you won't know until, again, it actually happens. It's possible you can take a little chance now. For some people who have already have Bitcoins and are committed long term and you're trading, this could be an opportunity. This could be a really good opportunity. In any case, if you're already trading based on your gains, there really is no risk. And so, eventually prices move up and down all the time. Just have to hold on to them, and whenever the right time to recoup your gain is, could be, whoever knows, who knows, whatever time in the future, usually a long-term trade. So many ways to play this. If you're like me, you're playing long, medium, and short term, and you're making a trade off of a trade off of a trade. And so if you know how to play it right, if you keep your head on straight, and if you're so immersed in it, there's really no way you can you can't play this right. There's if your head's really in the game, every trade or most of every trade you have should be you're playing it right, and you're on the right side of the trade. So anyway, let me go back in here and let's look on the 1 hour to see how strong of a push it was. As you can see right here, it really was a very strong push up. How long is this going to last? I don't know. You can see on a shorter term, 1 hour, that it's really when it really moves, the price really just skirts or rides the 10-period average, and this is a really good sign showing a really strong move up. So if you, on a short term, if you played it, you would just follow the highs and just realize that if you follow the high, and even if you just follow this to be the last high and then follow this to be the high, you'll see that it's really broken up enough to the point where you'll know this is a really positive sign. Question is it going to stay up that high? Could it go down a little bit more? That's kind of why you have to play both sides of the trade. By playing both sides of the trade, you're gaining when it goes up and you're gaining when it's go down. So it's just a question of you want to gain money, or you want to gain in US dollars, or you want to gain in Bitcoin. For me, either or works for me, as long as I make a gain, because there's prices don't move in a straight line; they move up and down towards a direction, and if you know how to play the market that way, then you'll do very well. If you're trying to go against the market all the time, you're gonna lose out. And so I play the market, but I usually play with the market as much as I can, because the market always wins. When I say the market, I'm talking about the price action. If the price action goes up, guess what? The price action wins all the time. You're never going to beat the price action. If the price goes up and you're thinking the price is going down and it goes up, guess what? You lost. If you're thinking the price will go up and it goes down, guess what? You lost. You don't want to go against the crowd. You want to be with the crowd, and at the right time as much as you can. So You can be right 50% of the time. It's how much of that 50% of the time are you right? Because if you're more wrong on that 50% than you're right on that 50%, you're losing. So being more right on that 50% is really critical. But it's 50-50. It really is. Just how much more right are you going to be on that makes a difference. So my trades don't always work out, but I'm following my own strategy, and I recommend you follow your own. But you've got to trade and get that experience in order to have a strategy. If you're not in this game, if you're not trading, then I don't know how you can come up with a strategy, because you really got to understand how to utilize Bitcoin, how to use Bitcoin to your advantage. If you don't, it's just going to be very difficult for you all the time. Do I feel sometimes the market's manipulated? Yes. Is there anything you can do about it? The actual manipulation of the market? Probably not. But can you do something to take advantage of the manipulation of the market or the moves in the market? Yes, you can. You can. You can definitely do something about it. And if you're smart, you would know how to do it and to take advantage of those moves, and you'll be set. Anyways, hopefully this helped. Let me go back to the 12-hour. Sorry if I speak long, but I don't do too many videos now because I'm extremely busy with my trades. I'm so occupied that it's keeping me more busy than usual. Anyways, let me conclude this episode. Feel free to like, dislike, leave a comment, even a video response. Until next time, stay tuned.